MeMonster.
Chapter 196. You are the first player to enter the 8th floor. Welcome to 8-1F, Field of Trials. You gain the first entrance rewards. Your bones become sturdier. Your muscles become thicker. Your spirit power capacity increases. The news of your advancement will be announced to all players in 12 to 36 hours. This is the middle stage of the tower. You can advance to 8-2F when you reach the end of the field of trials. But when you reach the end, after breaking through all obstacles, they will acknowledge you. I arrived at the 8th floor, or more precisely, floor 8-1. I was close to the halfway mark of the Tower of Wish. Strictly speaking, I had climbed about 40% of the whole thing, but in a way it wasn't wrong to call it 60 to 70%, since I would climb much quicker after the 9th floor. In the original story, the 9th to 14th floors ended in about 7 chapters. Of these, about 3 were about the 9th floor's calamities. I took a deep breath and opened my eyes. A beautiful scenery spread out before me. A vast grass field, blue and clear sky, sunlight streaming down from cracks in white clouds. Staring at the horizon, I examined Aether, which had now fully fused with my body. Aether infused with neurotech chip, awakened, fused, mystic, formless, evolving. A corporeal but formless weapon. It adheres to its master or his weapon, reinforcing their strength. A portion of its potential was awakened through a mystical elemental's power. Master selection. Will not adhere to another being once a master is chosen. Physical body reinforcement. Increases all variable stats of its owner by 0.7 points. Weapon reinforcement. Adheres to its master's weapon and strengthens the weapon's attack power. Aether itself can also form a weapon. Current weapon form Aether. Rank, high rank. Detail materialization. Aether can manifest color and texture, cannot be too complex. Evolving weapon. All of the above functions evolve with its owner. Depending on the state of Aether's awakening, other functions can develop. Mysteries of science. Fused with the neurotech chip, Aether has been connected to your veins and internal organs. Internal strengthening. Increases physical stats by 1.4 points. Battle sense. Aether can support you in battle. Mechanical movement. Can concentrate your body's kinetic energy to desired parts of your body. While I was tracking Jin Sayuk, I experienced firsthand the benefits of the new Aether. It sure is amazing. The new Aether had completely changed my body's mechanism. I felt the change when I sniped Jin Sayuk from a distance. As common sense would show, humans are incapable of shooting a target from 3 kilometers away. The same applied to superhumans in this world. This was precisely why archers used magic arrows, which had almost 0 air resistance. But I was able to hit such a faraway target with a physical arrow. This couldn't be explained with just a gift. Having to see the target was one thing, but to shoot an arrow that far, one's bowstring also had to be strong enough. If a bowstring was strong, the strength needed to pull the arrow also increased drastically. That is why such a shot was normally impossible without the help of stigma. But after Aether fused with the neurotech chip, which was connected to my body moved like a machine when I was pulling on the bowstring. With mechanical movement, I was able to display power that surpassed what I could display alone. At the same time, I could feel that an invisible force was helping me move. By the way, can I take this with me when I return to Earth? I asked the system. Yes, a few special items acquired inside the tower can be brought to the outside world. Tip: the same applies to the mysterious pouch in your inventory. Thanks, that's good to know. With this, my strength was greatly enhanced. I should worry about the outside world later and focus on clearing the 8th floor. I surveyed the surrounding area and muttered quietly, "Summon." In an instant, a black clump of light descended from the sky. This acted as a portal that transported a black horse to this floor. Sonnery snorted unhappily as she was wet with warm water. "You were taking a bath?" She narrowed her eyes and nodded. "I'm sorry, but there's something for you to do right now." I took out special pieces of armor I made for her to wear. They were also made with dark ore, and each piece easily reached level 5. Click, click. Chest, back, head. Soon most of her body was covered in armor. I even fed her body-strengthening medicine just in case. "All done. How is it?" She seemed to like it, as her eyes arced to a smile. "Nuri, this field stretches for about 200 kilometers. This floor was fairly simple. We just had to travel through the field and reach the end. Of course, that didn't mean it was easy. The world looked bright and beautiful from the starting line I was standing on, but the moment I took a step forward, the earth should turn black and the sky should turn red, and unimaginably powerful blasts of magic power should rain down on me. But I believed in Sonnery. "You think you can do it?" As expected, Sonnery was full of confidence. Before setting out, there was one last thing I had to do. I took out the Special Skill Acquisition Book, Level 4 Algorithm, from my inventory. Use. I learned the special skill without hesitation. Since I just experienced Aether's power firsthand, this skill was worth the investment. With this single skill, Aether would reach a whole new level of power. You acquire Level 4 Algorithm. Level 4 Algorithm. Equipment you wield will become stronger and more precise. You can now set or change your body's physical response algorithm. Algorithm set, Aether, automatic defense. Aether is connected to your body. Aether will now defend against hostile attacks on its own. Algorithm set, Aether, skill delegation, extraction, and permanent materialization. Aether has been delegated a skill. From now on, Aether should cleverly protect me from any attacks coming my way. As for its power, I could start testing it now. I jumped on Sonnery. "Nuri, run to the end of this world." "Brrr!" She responded enthusiastically. Since she was so confident, I wasn't worried either. I pulled on her rein. Hee! Sonnery shot off like the wind, stepping into the field. At the same time, the scenery changed, and arrows began to rain down from the distance behind. Sonnery zigzagged masterfully, and Aether blocked any attacks that Sonnery couldn't avoid. "Yeah!" Sonnery reacted to a spirited shout. At the same time, magic cannon shells shot up from the horizon. Their goal was to blow up the ground to force me to stop. This time, Aether reacted first. Using extraction and permanent materialization, Aether crystallized the magic cannon shells before they touched the ground. The explosives were no longer a threat, and Sonnery charged forward without hindrance. Meanwhile, I stared into the horizon at the ones firing arrows and magic. Wait a minute. Suddenly, I felt a bit drowsy. Strength left my body. Saliva leaked out from my mouth, and the world spun. Why is there an illusion circle there? The moment I laid my eyes on the illusion circle in the distance, my mind fell into chaos. Normally, I wouldn't have fallen for such a thing so easily. However, my 1,000-mile eyes could see the illusion circle clearer than anyone else, and when the circle entered my eyes, my body stopped. I had to drink a potion to cure myself, but I couldn't remember which one I needed. My head turned blank. I leaned against Sunuri's back. Thankfully, Aether's automatic defense was still working, and Sunuri was unhurt. As such, I could only trust in them for now, that they would protect me until I woke up. Level 8, Chameleon Troop's Hideout. Prestigious players thought this building belonged to a rich NPC. Naturally, it was the best-looking building outside of Medea's palace. Currently, a discussion was being held regarding the rest day suggested by the tower's main guilds. "Are you also returning?" Boss asked Jane. "Yep. By the way, take a look at this, boss." Jane took out a small box as she grinned ear to ear. The box was filled with shiny jewels. "What are these?" "Jewels I can take out of the tower. Items that can be taken to Earth. Such items are called effective goods and were sold for a high price. Most effective goods were ores or gemstones. Jane had bought gemstones from the auction house and turned them into jewels." "What are they good for?" "I'm going to keep a few of them for viewing only and turn the rest into necklaces and other accessories. Ask Hajin to do that for you. Hajin's craftsmanship was far superior to most artisans." "Ah, good idea. Rather than that, where's Jiang and Jin Yohan?" "Chuck Jung Yang is training his special skill right now. Secret March, I think it was called. Jin Yohan's been having fun training a basic skill too, so I don't think either of them are leaving." Boss nodded. Then she thought about her position for a moment before looking at her messenger. Extra 7. "Boss, when you get to the 7th floor, don't skimp out and buy the 5,000 TP chip. You can go to the bank there and tell them my name. I left a currency called cash for you, so you'll be able to buy the 8th floor ticket immediately." Tap, tap. While Boss was typing up a response with her inexperienced fingers, Spartan's eyes suddenly shot open. "Beek! Kyak!" Jane jumped at Spartan's sudden shriek and fell on her butt. However, Spartan's rampage didn't stop. "Beek! Beek! What's going on? What's wrong with him? Beek!" Taken aback, Jane blocked her ears and tried to drown out the sound. On the other hand, Boss calmly examined Spartan. "Beek! Beek!" Not only was Spartan shrieking, but he was also pulling on her clothes. He seemed to want to take her somewhere. What? Then, Boss was struck with a bad feeling. She quickly opened her friend list and looked for Extra 7's location. Current location? Question mark, question mark, question mark. It meant he was at least on the 7th floor. Spartan seemed to be going crazy because he had lost his connection to his master. "Don't tell me." The small ripple in Boss's heart quickly grew bigger. "Jane, wait for me here." Why? What happened?" Boss didn't reply. She put on the most serious expression she'd had in 3 years and tore up the ticket to the 7th floor. 6th floor. Splendor. Whoom. Magic power undulated like falling cherry blossom petals. A long sword transformed into several blades, stabbing a black bear. Neck, stomach, arm, leg. The parts of the body touched by the longsword instantly froze cold. The bear's injury would have easily been critical for a human. Even so, the level 6 gem black bear moved. It brandished its claw to wound its opponent. Clang! A longsword clashed with its claw. On the moment of impact, the magic power condensed around the longsword exploded once again. Quang! The explosion swept the black bear's face, putting an end to the fight. Whew! Immediately afterwards, Chainayun wiped off her sweat with a sigh. A mountain-sized bear promptly fell next to her. A 1v1 victory. The monster she had been chasing for 2 days had finally been killed. Speed of growth was indeed unimaginably fast inside the tower. Chain Ayun turned back without much thought when a system window popped up. "Pick up the items, will you?" "Huh?" Chain Ayun turned around, hearing the system message. Indeed, an item list was projected above the bear's corpse. "Oh, right, thanks." She thanked the system and put the items into her inventory. Level 5, Invitation to the Love Room. Summoning. You can summon a chosen player to your location. Note, you cannot be in a battlefield when using this item. Level 3, Infinitely Multiplying Origami Letter. Level 3, Delivery of Feelings. You can send a letter to a player whenever you wish. Level 6, Gem Black Bear's Gallbladder. Level 5, Medicine. Eating this will probably increase your stats. Consumable items that randomly dropped from monsters like the heart-piercing magnifying glass and Card of Fate often had amazing and mystical effects. Are any of these good? At least for Chain Ayun, the item drops this time didn't seem all that useful. She didn't want to summon anyone, and she didn't want to send any letters either. Guess I'll sell everything other than the gallbladder. When she was about to take her leave, she was struck with a sudden flash of insight. Rather, she remembered the reason she entered the Tower of Wish in the first place. She looked at the invitation to the Love Room. You can summon a chosen player to your location. Its description made her think of only one person. After staring at the item with trembling eyes, she clenched her teeth with a light sigh. I don't know his nickname anyway. Faulting her own stupidity, Chain Ayun began to walk back to her companions. She left the Dark King mountain range and headed towards the Hot Spring of Peace. Soon, she discovered Yijian and Kim Suho, who were busily chatting by the hot spring. She was about to call out to them when she overheard their conversation and quickly hid herself. "Really?" Kim Suho had a surprised expression. Next to him, Yijian was making a mischievous face. "Yeah, really? Wow. Huh. Kim Suho then returned an astonished laugh. What are they talking about? Chain Ayun wondered. However, the words that followed prevented her from speaking out. Hajin really came to see Chain Ayun? Keep quiet. Keep your voice down. It's still a secret. I opened my eyes. To my surprise, I was looking at an unfamiliar ceiling. It was okay that the ceiling was unfamiliar, but why was there a ceiling on floor 8-1? And why was I lying on such a comfy surface? Looking around, I realized I was on a bed. There was even a blanket over me. "You're awake?" At that moment, a low, scary voice rang out. I glanced towards the direction of the voice. A muscular man was standing by a door. "Who are you?" "If it were up to me, I would have let an outsider like you die outside, but—" The man began to mumble about something that had nothing to do with my question. This guy, he was a proper NPC. "Consider yourself lucky. The Ironblood Duchess wished to keep you alive." Ironblood Duchess? I asked with genuine curiosity. Who the hell was that? Right. Who's, or rather, where am I? This is the Cravan frontier. I fell into greater confusion. Cravan? That was the name of the second residential area, a civilized world with magic and science. Furthermore, the World's End Bridge I needed to protect was also located at the eastern end of this residential area. "How is your body?" The NPC suddenly asked how I was doing. Before replying, I checked the NPC's information first. Level 8, Royal Guard. Yes, I'm fine. Then get up. Ironblood Duchess wishes to see you. Yes, sir. I got up without much thought. Since I was unhurt, I wanted to satiate my curiosity first, finding out how I came here and about this Iron Blood Duchess. Oh, right. When I came out to the hallway, I suddenly remembered about Bucephalus. She was most likely 80% of the reason I was alive. Where's my horse? In the stables. Is she getting along? No. All the other horses were kicked out by her. She's quite a violent one. She's galloping around the front lawn right now. Sorry. Considering her personality, I wouldn't have believed him if he said she was getting along with common horses. Only a horse on a similar level like Redhair should meet her eyes. In any event, I followed the NPC and walked forward. But even after walking for several minutes and opening door after door, no end came in sight. Was I in a maze, or was this a prison? After passing through dozens of doors, I finally arrived at a giant door. It is my honor. The NPC guiding me greeted the two knights guarding the door. Level 12, Moonlight Night. The two knights in full plate mail lightly nodded in response. You may leave. Yes, sir. The NPC backed off respectfully. After he left through the door, the knights grabbed the doorknob. The Iron Blood Duchess wishes to... Geez, just let him in already. Before the knights could carry out the formalities, an annoyed voice rang out from the other side of the door. The knights coughed awkwardly, then opened the door. You may go in. I walked through the door. Despite the flamboyant decorations on my way here, the reception room was rather informal and empty. In the center of the room was a long wooden table, and a person was sitting at its head. Hiya. When she spoke, my mind blanked for a moment. Huh? I couldn't think of anything, as though my neurons in my brain were malfunctioning. Where's your reply? Huh? Slightly brown skin, athletic figure, and a beautiful foreign look. The woman sitting in front of me was unfamiliar, yet all too familiar. I'm... the Iron Blood Duchess. I stood dumbstruck in front of the woman who introduced herself as the Iron Blood Duchess. How was she here? She was someone who shouldn't be here. As my head spun with countless questions, she continued. Don't tell me you've forgotten about me. I didn't reply. I couldn't. I was incapable of understanding what was going on. We went to the same school together. The questions filling up my mind all boiled down to a single one. How was she here? Chapter 197, 8-3 Crevon Mainland, Iron Blood Duchess's Mansion. Follow me. The Iron Blood Duchess led me to her office without any further explanation, unaware of how confused I was. I followed her absent-mindedly, trying to piece together what was happening, but failed. As a last resort, I checked my smartwatch. No new message. Recently, the smartwatch had stopped warning me about changes like this. It was probably because I had changed the present too much. You have a funny face. Were you that surprised? I was now in her office. The Iron Blood Duchess offered me a seat in front of her and smiled at my puzzled expression. Should I explain that first? Yes, please. She finally began to explain why and how she came to be here. As her explanation continued, my expression grew more and more dumbfounded. My jaw dropped as if it were about to touch the floor. However, I soon realized that just because things didn't align with my novel, it didn't mean they were impossible. Still, the first question that came out of me was an instinctive response. What? An invitation? My question was filled with confusion and astonishment. Unlike me, who was still bewildered, the Iron Blood Duchess just nodded casually. Yeah. You came in with an entrance ticket, right? I stared at her calm expression. Krevon's Ironblood Duchess, Kim Hajin's past classmate. The villain I created and converted to good, Tomer, had once again appeared in the main story after a dynamic turn of events. Was the co-author determined to give a main supporting cast an important role? What exactly is the invitation? An invitation is an invitation, just like the word says. It invited me to the land of fantasy, something like that. I assumed anywhere would be better than the damp, soggy dungeon, so I tore the ticket right away. Did anyone else receive an invitation? Probably a dozen or so. A dozen? I panicked. That meant there were at least a dozen people who existed outside the setting. Yeah, but no one is as important as me, at least not on the 8th floor. That was good to hear. I breathed a sigh of relief. If you entered through the invitation, does that mean you started on the 8th floor? That's right. Tomer grinned mischievously. I examined her for a moment. Her appearance had changed a lot since the last time I saw her. After overcoming her trauma, she had obviously lived a good life. Her face was rounder, and so were her eyes. She used to be a sharp-looking, voluptuous Latina, but now she looked softer and more Asian-like. Also, what's up with the Ironblood Duchess title? That's my nickname, I guess. I trained hard as soon as I arrived. Unlike you guys, I have something called a level system. I can get much stronger by leveling up. So I trained a bit, and voila, I'm stronger. Just like that. Tomer continued cheerfully. And also, there are battles here all the time. Monsters come pouring in every month. While fighting them, I made a name for myself in no time. I'm already at level 35. 35? Yeah, and I'm also super rich. I even got a title, and that's how I'm posing as a noble here. What do you think? Cool, right? I had to admit she was strong, since Minotaur, one of the stronger calamities waiting on the 9th floor, is level 40. So you can take it easy here. I'll show you how reliable I am. I'll pay you back 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times what I owe you. Tomer smacked her chest and boasted. That's right, she owed me money. A couple $100 million, I think. I'd been making so much money lately, I forgot. So, thanks to you, I skipped floor 8.2? Yep. Oh, but if you want to go down there, that's fine too. If you'd like to train there, that is. After making it to the end of Field of Trials, a player could go to the 8-2 floor, Krevon's temporary fortress. It was a city-size fortress, and players had to clear special tests and quests to receive enough performance points to reach the 8-3 floor. No, I don't really need to. I declined. Fighting was a good training method, but only for those with potential. I couldn't get stronger through normal means since I was already at the limit of my innate talent. Why? Because you're already at the top? Tomer grinned as if she knew something. I'm pretty close with the administrators. I'm like their right arm, so I know a thing or two about secrets. Really? Yep. Who would have thought you would actually take all that money from Medea? I stood up silently, approached the window behind Tomer's seat, and stared outside. A full view of Krevon was before my eyes. Shops lined up beside neat sidewalks. They were bigger than a house, but smaller than a building. They looked nothing like those of modern times, but didn't resemble those of the Middle Ages either. A full view of Krevon was before my eyes. Shops lined up beside neat sidewalks. They were bigger than a house, but smaller than a building. They looked nothing like those of modern times, but didn't resemble those of the Middle Ages either. A new world in a category of its own, populated by thousands of people. Are we on the west side? Yeah, northwest, to be exact. In the original novel, Krevon was divided into 3 districts with a river in the middle. First, the south and the north, both residential areas similar in size to Gyeonggi-do. But the most important district was the east, a narrow plot of land between the south and the north. The east, also called the World's End, was off-limits to NPCs. At the very end of the world's end lay the World's End Bridge, serving as Crevon's final border. Here, have this first. As I was looking at the view of Crevon, Tomer handed me something. VIP identification. You are now a guest of level 15 Duchess's mansion. On the surface, Tomer's mansion was much higher level than Medea's palace. In truth, considering its architectural value, Medea's palace was sophisticated enough that even a level 30 palace would be a downgrade. The only reason its level was set so low was because of its geographic location, prestige. Tomer continued, "So stay here for the time being. You have other companions, right?" "Yeah." "Oh, then I'll look after them too." "Oh." I smiled happily.
In truth, most players had to struggle a lot inside Crevon due to inflation. Think about how the cheapest product at the upgrade center on the 7th floor was worth 15,000 TP. Here, where the level of civilization was similar to that of the 21st century and even better in some aspects, the value of TP was significantly lower. In that sense, Tomer's words couldn't be more dependable. Trust me, there are loads of fun events here. I'll show you later. In exchange for the inflation problem, Crevon had a number of huge events where players could make TP: the Colosseum, virtual reality game tournament, monster hunt, and dance competition, to name a few. However, since there were no common quests, after hunting a monster, players had to dismantle it and sell and negotiate the price all on their own. Unlike on Earth, there were no agencies to help with it. "How's the weather right now? Is it cold?" I asked, looking down at the street with patches of snow here and there. It seemed to have snowed recently. "Yeah, it's probably around -23 degrees right now. There are 4 seasons here, just like in Korea, but they tend to be a bit more extreme." "Yeah? And how much are the buildings here?" This time, the system informed me. Crevon, due to its dense population and limited residential areas, does not offer the hideout system. "You guys can't buy buildings here. It's overcrowded, so we decided not to sell any to outsiders." Once again, this was out of line with the original story. "Really?" "Yeah. One day, after getting a revelation about outsiders coming in, the administrator's subordinates proposed a legislation about it. The revelation happened in the original novel, but the legislation was new." I sighed. But the most important thing, the fact that the administrators of this floor were Agamemnon and Moses, hadn't changed, so that was a relief. "By the way, how did you know that I was here?" "Because you were the first player to arrive on the 8th floor. It's been a long time since I saw anyone from Earth, so I went to take a look, and you were there. I hardly recognized you at first, because your face was so different. Did you get plastic surgery or something?" "No, it became more handsome on its own." Tomer frowned instantly. "I'm kidding. I didn't have any surgery. I guess I just lost my baby fat as I got older." "I don't think that's it. Anyway, do you know how to go up?" "Yeah, I know." "Oh, really? How did you know?" "I have a way." Since we were on the subject of going up, I fixed my gaze again on Tomer. "I want to ask you one more favor. Is that okay?" Before I could even say what the favor was, Tomer grinned. "It doesn't have to be just one. Thanks to you, my dad—" Whatever, continue. I'll do anything my dad's friend asks me to do." I felt slightly guilty at her touching words. The fact that I was close to her father was a fabrication. I nodded with a wry smile. "Thanks. The thing is," I explained my plans to Tomer. She thought for a moment and then nodded. "That's hardly a favor." "Nice. Now blocking that bridge should be much easier." "Thank you." "No problem." We shook hands to celebrate our reunion. Suddenly, a stern voice came from the crystal ball in the office. "Your Grace, a player is causing a commotion on 8-1 floor. 8-1F, Field of Trials. A woman had destroyed all attacks with a terrifying wave of magic power and reached the end of the field. It took her a mere 15 minutes. At the end of the field was a bulwark, an army of soldiers, and a general.
They stepped aside with expressions that said, "You have earned our respect," and showed her the stairway to the 8-2 floor. The stairway stretched far up into the sky. If she went up the stairway, she would reach the 8-2 floor. But she didn't climb the stairs. Instead, she turned to the general. "Answer my question." The magic power she emitted was enormous enough to leave marks on the ground. Outsiders are not allowed to ask questions. But Krevon's general, who stepped up to stop her, was not intimidated. In fact, he looked like he was ready to fight, even more so than her. Shh. Magic power flowed from his hand and engulfed the blade of his sword. It was an aura of sword reinforcement, which was stronger than sword chi, something every swordsman dreamed of having. "I will ask again." The woman spoke up. Her stern voice echoed across the field. "Then I shall say it once more. No questions are allowed for outsiders." The general answered. He maintained an upright stance, like a mountain that didn't bend or waver. "Did a man pass by here, or was he killed without making it through? Answer." That was all she wanted to know. Of course, she knew that death in the tower was not permanent, but she still believed she had a duty to avenge the death of her subordinates. "No questions are allowed. Take the stairway or step back into the field again. Those two are your only options." Their conversation did not last long. It was only natural that stones and trees could not communicate with each other. A question left unanswered could only be addressed through violence. The woman emitted black magic power. Soon her eyes turned red. In turn, the general's eyes glowed with determination. They were about to fly at each other when there was a soft whisper. "Boss." She recognized the voice right away. The woman called Boss stopped and turned to where the whisper had come from. "Stop it, Sir Kifa." And the general stopped after hearing the next voice. The general, Kifa, stared at his comrade. The tension between them melted like snow. "I arrived in Krevon mainland, the 8-3 floor, with Boss. Walking in the unfamiliar streets of Krevon, we held a conversation. Whew, ooh, ooh. Boss, walking next to me, was just like a child. She seemed curious about everything here. It was no wonder, since there was a horde of airships up in the sky, and occasionally beautiful magic would decorate the sidewalks. Strangely, horses were still the means of transportation. "Hey boss, why did you try to fight Kifa?" I would have won." Geez, it was touching that she came all the way here to save me, but her confidence had to be discouraged. Her opponent, Kifa, was a legendary flowering knight from the history. Although he was inferior to Chokjong Young, Boss shouldn't be sure of her victory until at least 70% of her abilities were restored. "Are you doubting me?" Boss narrowed her eyes at me. "Of course you would win in a regular one-on-one match, but you haven't learned any skills yet. Learn what I recommend you later. Don't be so picky. Actually, find the skills you want to learn by yourself." "That's not how you should talk to your boss." I casually interrupted her. "By the way, how did you come here?" Boss looked like she wanted to say something but didn't, and simply let out a sigh. I don't know why, but I feel like recently Boss was giving in to me. Spartan helped me.
Did you worry about me?" I looked at Spartan, who was sitting on Boss's shoulder, and smiled. "That's not it." Boss waved her hand in a fluster and suddenly looked up at the sky. "Look at the sky. I've never seen an airship like that in my entire life." "Ah, really?" Boom! Together, we watched magical airships with video screens on the side fly through the sky. Then suddenly, a system alert popped up. LV4 Black Suit, J Green Order, has been successfully auctioned off. It was a message about the armor I used to wear. I was about to check who the buyer was, but stopped at Boss's words. "This floor seems much better than the third floor." "Well, on the outside, yes. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow. As I mentioned earlier, most players would probably have a harder time here than in Prestige. In fact, Prestige wasn't that bad of a place nowadays. It was full of potential as it was actively under development.
Thanks to the work I put into improving prestige, many ordinary people were living there now. They were artisans and manufacturers who couldn't obtain performance points because they couldn't hunt monsters. In the original novel, they would have been driven to despair and forced to scrape up 1,000 TP to lead the Tower of Wish. But now there was hope for them as well. Albeit slowly, ordinary people were also starting to get their hands on skill books, and with the news about people being able to bring acquired skills to Earth spreading, they should be motivated enough to continue to develop prestige on their own. But will you be okay? Suddenly, Boss said worriedly. What are you talking about? You continue to climb at this pace, people might find out you're the Seed of Black. I smiled wryly at her words. Extra 7, Black Lotus. It was a reasonable suspicion. Extra 7 achieved first place in the highest difficulty tutorial, and Black Lotus was climbing at a speedy pace. With that in mind, I changed my ID to a different one on the Game Center rankings, but someone was still bound to be suspicious. Don't worry about it. Rather than that, I put a hat that I had made beforehand on Boss. LV4, hat made by Kim Hajin. LV4, heat preservation. LV4, looks good. It looked like a beanie, but it had a ball of cotton on the tip like a Santa hat. It's a present since it's Christmas soon. Boss suddenly stopped walking. She blinked blankly for several seconds and then tilted her head to look at herself in the window of a shop. There was definitely a smile on her face, but only briefly. In the next moment, she clenched her teeth. She obviously looked as if she was having complicated thoughts. For a moment, I wondered if I had done something wrong, but Boss faked a smile again and looked at me. Thank you. She sounded as if she had a lump in her throat. Boss, did you do something? Beep. I received a message. Hold on a second. Captain Britain, I'll be heading home now, Hajin. It was from Rachel. I replied quickly. Me too. I'll see you on Earth. With that, I asked Boss, should we head back to Earth now? It looks like today's the start of the rest day. It should take at least a week for Tomer to create the system I asked for and for other players to reach the 8-3 floor. That should be enough time for me to enjoy a short vacation. Okay, great. Then let's... No, wait. You stay here, Boss. I remembered suddenly. Now is not the time for this. I stopped Boss from buying the return ticket. What? I handed her the VIP certificate to Boss, who was frowning. Take this and go to the Duchess, and decide which skills you're going to acquire. She should have lots of skill books with her. You need to choose at least one before I get back. It's homework, okay? What? Who in the world gives homework to his boss? It's all because you're too difficult. Come, Spartan. I called Spartan, who had been sitting on Boss's shoulder all this time. He headed my way reluctantly. I'll be off then. I'm going to do a homework check when I get back, so don't slack off. Dumbfounded, Boss was at a loss for words and looked at me with blank eyes. Let's go, Spartan, to Earth. Brrr. Meanwhile, Spartan used his authority, the passage of light. A circle of light came down from the sky and surrounded me and Spartan. In it, the strange sense of returning to Earth enveloped my entire body.
Chapter 198. In Prestige, where the difference between day and night was unclear, the passage of time could still be sensed thanks to the moon-like mass in the sky. When this mass scattered fragments of light over Prestige, it was considered daytime. But these white particles only marked half a day. At present, the particles glimmered faintly beneath the western horizon. It was dawn. For Che Neun, who hadn't slept a wink since yesterday, the dawn felt endless. She lay on a bed on the 3rd floor of Essence of the Straits hideout, surrounded by other guild members. Instead of sleeping, she was lost in thought. She kept replaying the cursed words she'd overheard the day before in Splendor. Shh, Hajin really came to see Che Neun? Hey, quiet. Keep your voice down. That's still a secret. When? The moment she heard those words, she clenched her teeth. I shouldn't have trusted anyone. The ashes deep in her heart flared up again. Yet at the same time, she realized this wasn't a big deal to them. No surprises there. Hajin isn't the type to stay still after hearing about that. So what? What happened? Well, I really shouldn't talk. Anyways, that's why I'm wondering, is it true that they used to date? Yi Ji-yoon tried to get Kim Suho to say more, just to satisfy her curiosity. I don't know exactly. Ask Naeun or Hajin directly later. Come on. Then what was the point in me telling you all that? Chae Nayun didn't have the courage to call her out. After that incident, she thought she'd become bolder, but all she could do was hide in the shadows and listen. Besides, it would be odd to get angry when she was the one eavesdropping. Later, she joined them, pretending she hadn't heard anything. She tried to act normal, but it was pointless. After a day of training, she returned to the hideout and handed her prizes to Kim Young-jin. The contract was that she would give everything she earned in the cower to them. Although Yu Yana said it wasn't necessary, Chae Nayun did it anyway. Contrary to her expectations, Kim Young-jin liked the level 3 infinitely multiplying origami letter. He praised him in front of the guild, saying he now had a way to communicate even if the messenger died. Hearing that, she realized it was a good item and blamed herself for not thinking of a use for it. As a reward, she was allowed to keep the remaining items. That was 6 hours ago. For 6 hours, Chae Nayun couldn't sleep. Her thoughts and anxiety kept her awake. According to Yi Ji-yoon, Kim Hajin had come to see her when she was unconscious, hovering between life and death. She tried not to think about why, because the image of him looking down on her in pity filled her with disgust and anger. Instead, she shifted her thoughts to Extra 7, one she'd given the antidote, an old acquaintance from Cube. Something about what Yi Ji-yoon said was suspicious. If it was true, then Yi Ji-yoon met both Kim Ha-jin and Extra 7 around the same time. Of course, Kim Ha-jin and Extra 7 should be different people, but... Wait. Chae Nayun's eyes turned cold. Maybe that's not necessarily the case. She had a gut feeling there was a connection between the two. It wasn't logical, but it was strong, like a sixth sense. Goo-goo! A noise came from the next room. It was Kim Young-jin, the most diligent and punctual member, waking up. Tired of her endless thoughts, Chae Nayun got up. Zzz. Yi Ji-yoon was sleeping in the adjacent bed. Chae Nayun stood silently staring at her as she drooled in her sleep. I couldn't sleep at all because of you. What is it that you know? Chae Nayun glared at Yi Ji-yoon, then suddenly stopped. The pause turned into a quick movement. Her hand shot out and slapped Yi Ji-yoon's cheek. Slap! Ow! The sharp pain woke her up. Her mind was foggy, but the pain was clear. Tears welled up as she grabbed her cheek and looked up at Chae Nayun. Whoa, what? A mosquito. A huge mosquito. You okay? She showed her hand. There was indeed a crushed mosquito. Still, it hurt a lot. It hurt? Sorry. Chae Nayun had hit her as gently as possible, but Yi Ji-yoon still whimpered, tears threatening to fall. All right, get up. Let's go training. She grabbed her wrist and pulled her up. Wait, Nayun, I was going to go home during the rest day. Oh, ow! You can't. Why do you think I taught you how to get to the 6th floor? Today you're going to train with me till death. Let's get stronger together. Kim Suho is waiting for us. Wait, it hurts! My wrist! It's gonna break! Ah! It has been more than 100 days since you first entered the tower. You can now acquire one skill outside the tower semi-permanently. Special skill, level 4, algorithm. Be careful, for death will rob you of your skill. System messages appeared under my eyelids. When I finished reading them and opened my eyes, I was already back on Earth. I was in the Chameleon Troop's hideout, which I had personally rebuilt. Although today was a rest day, only Jayan and I had returned. The huge lobby was empty except for goblins cleaning. Oh, so it's true you can bring a skill outside the tower? Oh, by the way, you have a mission, Hajin. Mission? Yeah, boss told me to give you one. I'm gonna go back to Geronimo and fetch it, so get ready in the meantime. Jayan handed me a jewel box. And this. What's this? Effective goods. They're valuable jewels. Can you turn them into rings or necklaces or something like that? I looked inside. There were jewels valuable even by modern standards, blood diamonds, black opals, and others found only in the tower, like ice light stones and fire silver stones. When did you get your hands on these? They were all extremely expensive.
Hee hee, there's a reason I call myself the Phantom Thief. So, can you? I can, but what about the cost? Huh? I'm pretty expensive. Dwarfen's dexterity, combined with Aether that had become one with me, the precision of a machine and the delicacy of a human made my craftsmanship surpass modern standards. 5%? Giant's voice trembled. I'll take 4. Ah, she grabbed my wrist. But you're rich. I can't buy things like these with money. How about just 3 then? Effective goods can only be obtained through monster hunting and quests. In this case, Jayan seems to have stolen some. Fine, 3. Jayan nodded reluctantly. But you have to do a good job. Don't worry about that. After saying goodbye to Jayan, I hurried home to see her, my friend, and family. But no one was home. It's only evening, so she's probably with her friends from the next block. With that in mind, I headed to Yoon Sung Ah's house. Ding! When I rang the doorbell, the speaker turned on. Who is it? It's me. Oh, Hajin. Who? Hajin? Hajin? As expected, Evandal's noisy voice came from behind the door. I smiled and waited for Yoon Sung Ah to open. Welcome. Hajin!
Evandal ran to me as soon as the door opened. Da-da-da-da-da-da. She rushed over and hugged me tightly. I picked her up as she clung to me like a cicada. Hajin! Long time no see! I felt warmth as I stepped into the house with Evandal. Haeyeon's parents weren't home. They were always busy when I visited. But Yoon Sung Ah, Haeyeon, and another of Evandal's friends were there. Good timing. We were just getting ready for dinner, Yoon Sung Ah said. I glanced at the kitchen and smiled. The ingredients were out, but cooking hadn't started. Hajin, were you in the tower? Evandal asked, rubbing her cheek against me. Yeah, so you know about the tower now? I learned about it on TV and YouTube. Aha! 2 kids and Haeyong approached as I held Evandal. The taller was Haeyeon, the shorter was Jiyeon, I think. Hello. Hello. Yeah, hi.
I patted them on their heads lightly and put Evandal down. Then I headed to the kitchen. It looked like today's menu was tomahawk steak. Can you wait a little bit? I'll start cooking. I'll do it. With a smile, I picked up the knife that Yoon Sung Ah was about to grab and sent her back. 2 hours later, Yoon Sung Ah called my cooking skills fantastic. The kids were also very satisfied. They lay sprawled near the sofa due to languor after meal. But Evandal was a little different. While her friends were half asleep from eating until they were full, she watched TV and suddenly widened her eyes. I also looked at the TV. The TV show was about a festival in England which would take place during Christmas. Evandal says she wants to visit England. Huh? England? Yes, I took her with me when I went to Paris for work. It looks like she's taken an interest in traveling abroad since then. Evandal kneeled in front of the TV and watched it with sparkling eyes. England. I guess she recognizes her home instinctively, though I'm not sure home is the right word. Beep! I received a message and checked my smartwatch. The sender was Geronimo. It was Jane. Hajin, this time your mission as Fenrir is in England. You like England, so no problem there, right? I smiled as soon as I read it. Perfect timing. Well then, we'll just have to go. Mid-December. Fenrir's gun was fired for the first time in nearly half a year. England's Merseyside county was practically carpet-bombed by a ferocious wolf. The power of each bullet exceeded that of a cannonball, yet his aim was as precise as ever. There, he destroyed the homes of sea monsters as easily as cutting through tofu. As usual, there were no civilian casualties or any loss of property. Other experts in the field clicked their tongues at his meticulous skill. The monsters were removed neatly as if they had been cut out using a scalpel. Fenrir let the world know that he came back from the Tower of Wish stronger than ever. Thank you for taking on the mission. Rachel called Fenrir both as the Princess of England and as the representative of the English Royal Court Guild. Apparently, there was a subjugation mission planned out, but it was delayed in order to minimize the damage to the nearby city. Sea monsters were able to cause tsunamis, but they only did so when they were enraged because tsunamis could destroy their homes as well. However, Fenrir didn't even give them the time to get enraged. Mechanical shooting, error-free destruction. From the start to the end, it took him only about 15 minutes to destroy their homes completely. He beat his old record. Just like Rachel, Kim Hajin had also gotten stronger in the Tower of Wish. That's what partners are for. More than that, you should be careful. England isn't as safe as the Tower. Don't worry, I learned a good skill. Inside the limousine heading to the English Royal Court Guild, Rachel looked out the window as she was talking on the phone and discovered someone. That someone was talking on the phone just as she was. He had sunglasses on, but his silhouette was similar to that of Kim Hajin. She had run into the person she was speaking to on the phone by chance. What a coincidence! She was about to roll down the window happily when she spotted something and froze. Kim Hajin was holding hands with the girl who had her blonde hair neatly tied in the ponytail. The limousine soon turned a corner and the two disappeared from her view. "Wait, stop!" she shouted to the driver in a hurry. "K-k-k." The limousine stopped with a skidding sound. "Huh? Stop?" Kim Hajin's voice rang out from her smartwatch as Rachel got off the car. She had just seen something and was sure that she wasn't mistaken. She hurried back towards the direction that the car had just passed by. She turned the corner to where Kim Hajin was. "Stop what, Rachel C?" Rachel found Kim Hajin in an unfrequented alley. He was still Kim Hajin even with sunglasses on. She didn't have to check that the man in front of her was Kim Hajin because his voice matched the voice that came out of her smartwatch. But the thing next to him was not a girl, arf arf, but a puppy, a cute Pomeranian. The puppy ran towards Rachel, her golden fur fluttering in air. Kim Hajin turned around to follow her. "Hey, where are you going?" "Oh, Rachel C." Kim Hajin's eyes widened and Rachel nodded at him. "I passed you by in a car, so I came running." "I see. It's nice to see you. What a coincidence." But Kim Hajin's reaction was quite dull. He didn't seem too surprised, as if he already knew that she would be here. Rachel expressed her suspicion through a different question.
"Excuse me, Hajin C, but weren't you with someone just now?" "With who?" "A girl. A child. About this tall." "A child?" But all Kim Hajin did was tilt his head to one side casually. Was it all in my head? Or did I mistake him for someone else?" Poke, poke. Amidst her confusion, the puppy pressed her front paws into Rachel's legs. "Don't just watch. Hold her." "Huh? Oh, okay." Rachel did as she said. Grr, grr. The cute puppy snuggled in her arms. Her smile was just like that of a human. Rachel patted her head and continued. "I thought you left right after the mission." "I stayed to watch the festival." Around that time, people were starting to gather near the alley. As the Princess of England, Rachel's popularity was unrivaled in her homeland. She couldn't be simply hanging around on the streets. "I think I need to go now." As such, Rachel tried to put the puppy down. Arf! Arf! But the puppy didn't want to let go of her, and Kim Hae-jim had to separate her personally. After removing her by force, he patted the whimpering, sullen puppy softly. Rachel spoke. "Your puppy is a lot like a human." "Is that so?" At that moment, a limousine approached the alley. Kim Hae-jin smiled wryly. "You should get going. It'll be a lot harder when more people get here." "I'll come see you later." As the alley was getting more and more crowded, Rachel nodded. She looked at the puppy in Kim Hae-jin's arms, then smiled softly at her and stepped back. "Princess! Oh, my princess!" She smiled reluctantly at the people cheering at her and got in the limousine. Then she looked at Kim Hae-jin from the window. "Say goodbye." Kim Hajin grabbed the puppy's hand and waved it to say goodbye. It was cute, but Rachel was quite distraught. There was no way she was imagining things. Yet imagination was the only explanation for her confusion. "Then I'll start the car." The limousine proceeded smoothly, and Rachel became absorbed in deep thought. Tower of Wish. At 3 p.m. today, a huge explosion erupted on the 5th floor's Northeast Gateway number 5. This gateway was under the Guild Alliance's control under the refutable premise that if ordinary people tried to capture it, there would be countless casualties. The Guild Alliance's rule had not been challenged until now. Today, the gateway disappeared without a trace. It crumbled down to nothingness after the explosion. The Guild Alliance hurried to the scene to reveal the identity of the ruffian who had the guts to do something like this on a designated rest day. We think it was Black Lotus?" "What? Seriously?" However, their burden was lightened as they found out that retaliation was impossible to begin with. "Yes, there's no doubt about it. His symbol was on the ground, and I'm looking at it right now." Beside the crumbled gateway was the symbol of Black Lotus. "Withdraw then." How could they stop a ranker from capturing the gateway when he alone possessed power equal to a single guild? Guild Alliance members sighed and turned around. "Yes, sir. We'll head back now." "Yeah." They turned around feebly. That's done. However, contrary to their expectations, the mastermind behind the attack was not Black Lotus. Rather, it was his superior, the nameless boss. She had impersonated her subordinate for his own sake. No one could imitate Fenrir because he used a gun. There was no one else that could display that terrifying power with bullets. However, Black Lotus could be imitated with a bit of effort. Boss decided to nip the suspicion that could become her subordinate's Achilles' heel. Currently, there should be lots of media coverage of Fenrir's mission on Earth, so even if it was discovered that Kim Hajin was Extra 7, he would be Fenrir and not Black Lotus. Boss waited until the Guild Alliance members reported the explosion as Black Lotus's doing and returned to Cravan on the 8th floor. Imitating the arrows of her subordinate was tiring, but she still had the homework from that cocky underling. Boss entered the Iron Blood Duchess's study. Soldiers who had been guarding the study with great intensity stepped aside like docile puppies in front of her VIP ID. Out of the many books stocked up in the study, she picked out only the skill books. It was harder than she thought. There were way too many books. Boss even banged her fist against the bookshelf out of anger in the middle. But with great perseverance, she finally managed to pick out 2 skill books. Basic Skill Acquisition Book, Level 0, Magic Power Circulation, and Basic Skill Acquisition Book, Level 1, Magic Circuit Remodeling. They were both passive skills regarding magic power. These should be enough, thought Boss, as she turned around. She couldn't help but be startled in the next moment. Someone was standing right in front of her. "Hello." A woman had been standing behind her this whole time without a hint of presence. Above her head were these words: "Level unknown, Iron Blood Duchess."
Chapter 199. That was close. No, she was probably still suspicious. Evandel also became excited after seeing Rachel, and for the first time threw a huge tantrum. It seemed true that blood was thicker than water. In any case, I had to spend 2 days calming Evandel down. I did my best to cheer her up with Clancy Islet's festival, made her a beautiful bracelet using one of the jewels I got from Jane, and promised her that I would let her meet Rachel eventually. I wasn't lying. Evandel had to be revealed to the world someday. Of course, now was still too early, but once I had the power to protect Evandel both emotionally and physically, and once Evandel had the power to protect herself, I would reveal her existence to the world. It would be wrong to waste her talent just because I was afraid something might happen to her. In the original story, Evandel had a peerless talent for stronghold defense. That shouldn't have changed in this storyline either. Today was fun, right? After our tour of England, we returned to the underground training room I set up for Ivandel. Over the years, Ivandel had created many spirit animals, which now flew around the training room. Eagles, wolves, horses, hippos. A huge mystical army of animals greeted Ivandel. Even at a glance, there were over 1,000 of them. However, Ivandel commanded them with a single flick of her hand. Ivandel began to mutter strange onomatopoeias. Squish, squash. Her spirits began to move according to the different sounds she made. Chico, chico. She waved her arm like a conductor, commanding her spirits to dance. Spockly, spockly. That one seemed to be an attack command, as the army took on an aggressive stance. Then they spread apart and began to charge forward for multiple angles. That's enough. Perfect score. Well done. I praised Ivandel and lifted her up high. Ivandel smiled happily in my arms. If I have my magician's hat and staff, I can command them even better. Oh, really? I made a mental note to upgrade her gear later. I looked around the training room again, but didn't see any special spirits. Ivandel, where's Fenrir? I couldn't find Fenrir among the sea of monsters, so I asked Ivandel. Over there. I followed her finger and saw a black wolf flying by the wall. He was the only spirit animal that radiated an imposing aura. Little wolf! But when Ivandel called him, he opened his eyes and quickly ran over with his tongue out. In case it wasn't obvious, I had left Fenrir with Ivandel since I knew he would be treated as equipment by the tower system. He got smaller? Otherwise he's too big. I see. I checked Fenrir's stats. Ghost Wolf. Servant, high intermediate rank. The first servant created by the witch Ivandel. Basic stats. Strength, 12.150. Bite force, 12.850. Stamina, 8.635. Speed, 13.950. Perception, 13.950. Vitality, 8.850. Magic power, 9.950. The word absurd didn't even begin to describe him. If I fought him, I would surely be crushed. I wouldn't be surprised if he reached the level of the real Fenrir soon. All right, Ivandel, can you play with your friends for a bit? I need to do something on the side. Okay. Ivandel nodded with a cheerful smile. I smiled back and bent my knees in a sitting posture. I didn't have a chair underneath me, so my butt should have hit the ground. However, my butt safely landed on a comfy chair. Aether had moved on its own and transformed into a chair. Sitting on the Aether chair, I turned on my smartwatch and entered Violet Banquet. Welcome, Truth Agency's administrator. There are 77 clients eagerly waiting to hear back from you. As expected, there was a huge backlog of requests. I looked through the list. The ones that caught my attention were requests from Frost Sanctuary, Desolate Moon, and Essence of the Straits, Yu Yunha. I can tell Yu Yunha that I operate the Truth Agency, right? I pondered as I checked the contents of her request. I hope you are doing well, Truth Agency Nim. I am Lady Yu. I've contacted you once before for a request. Today's request is something that is purely to satisfy my curiosity. Knowing how busy you must be, I will not take it to heart even if you decline this request. In fact, I hope you do not think I am bothering you with trifling questions. Yu Yunha had a serious tone. It must be the clause, respectful and polite speech may make the response quicker. But when I read the main content of her request, is Creator's Sacred Graces Yun Sung Ah in a romantic relationship with Geronimo mercenaries Kim Hajin. What is she crazy? I was dumbfounded to the point of choking on air. What strange fantasy does she have now? Telling myself to look into it later, I quickly wrote down a reply. They are certainly only neighbors. As this request is too simple, we will not accept any payment. With that, I went back to scrolling down the list. Then suddenly a certain name shot into my eyes like a nail being hammered in. Hello, I am contacting you as the representative of Daehyun's chairman, Chai Juchul the Immortal. Eileen returned to Earth for the first time. Along with her exit from the Tower of Wish, she felt like she regained the honor and authority she had been missing for a long time. As soon as the news of her return came out, requests for interviews flooded in. After all, among the heroes who entered the Tower of Wish with the first wave of entrance tickets, Eileen was the only individual regarded as someone who stood at the peak of her generation. As Eileen enjoyed interviews, she held a public press conference proudly on the Tower of Heroes front lawn. She even made it a huge event on the Tower of Heroes front lawn. Her plan was to lay out her accomplishments and showcase her rewards from the tower. She even made a mental note to keep her hand on her waist proudly the whole time. Indeed, Eileen became the main character of the press conference, at least for the first half. We've been receiving reports that Pandemonium's notable terrorist Black Lotus has also entered the Tower of Wish. This man known as Black Lotus. If there is anything you know about his identity. Sir Vast Expanse has also made a comment about him. We would like to hear Miss Eileen's comment as well. However, their attention quickly turned to another player. Once again, it was Black Lotus. Feeling sour, Eileen responded half-heartedly and sent them away. Although the reporters at this press conference were all seasoned veterans, they were unable to raise any objection in front of Eileen. "I'm not Black Lotus, so why are you asking me? That's it for this interview. Please go back." "Please go back." With just these 3 words, the reporters all packed their belongings and got back in their cars. Annie? After the reporters left like cockroaches scurrying away, the only person left was someone who could resist her spirit speech. It was Yoon Sung-ah. "What?" Eileen glanced at her. Yoon Sung-ah was holding a plastic bag with tofu inside.
Congrats on leaving the tower. Welcome back. It's not like I was in jail or anything. Even as she grumbled, she took the tofu from Yoon Sung-ha. "Uni, are you out of the tower for good, or are you going back soon?" "I'm going back tomorrow." At first, Eileen wanted to make up an excuse and leave the tower halfway through, but after witnessing the mysterious power known as skills, and because the scale of the tower made it increasingly interesting, she decided to climb the tower until the end. "Anyways, you're here because you have something to say, right? Where do you want to go, my house or my office?" Eileen asked Yoon Sung-ha, intending to show off her skill. Well, I don't really care either way." "Okay, then let's go to my office." Eileen grabbed Yoon Sung-ha's hand, flustering her, as it was something she wouldn't usually do. "Why are you grabbing my hand all of a sudden?" Eileen didn't respond. 3 seconds later, the world flipped 180 degrees and a new scenery warped around them. Eileen and Yoon Sung-ha were now in Eileen's office. What? Hoo-hoo! How is it? That was a skill. As I thought, it's even stronger outside the tower. A chantless teleportation spell that doesn't even need a magic circle? I was shocked when I first learned it too. Amazing! Yoon Sung-ha looked envious. "Why don't you enter the tower too? This is a great chance for you." "You know why. I'm busy with my guild." "Why are you sacrificing yourself for a guild? Don't be stupid." Yoon Sung-ha only smiled bitterly at Eileen's chastising. "Anyways, why are you here?" Eileen said as she sat down on her office chair. The difference in their height had been bothering her for a while, and Eileen was happy to finally do something about it. "Well, I'm here to bribe you." "Bribe?" "There are 2 kids I'm close with inside the tower. Uni's one of the strongest people in the tower, right?" I let out a dry cough and leaned against her chair. "I am the strongest." "Right, exactly." Eileen's lips trembled. She was indeed weak to compliments. "All right, that much shouldn't be hard. One should be Kim Soo-ho. But who's the other one?" Yoon Sung-ha hesitated for a moment before carefully opening her mouth. "Fenrir, Kim Hajin. You know him?" "Fenrir, I do, but I haven't run into him ever." "But if you do happen to meet him, treat him well. Help him too if he's having trouble with something." Hearing Yoon Sung-ha's serious tone, Eileen replied confidently, "I got it. Trust me." After that, Eileen busily popped up here and there. As expected of someone who liked receiving attention, she threw several media events, lectures, and conferences. She was completely different from Yi Young-ha, who was quietly resting at home with his wife. In any case, after spending the night on Earth, Eileen returned to the tower.
But before she had the chance to even remember Yoon Sung-ha's request, she was faced with a shocking piece of news. 1. A player has entered the 8th floor. 2. An unknown player has cursed you. 3. A bounty has been placed on your head. 4. Anyone who defeats you will receive 5,000 TP. 3 seconds. For 3 seconds, Eileen stood still in a daze. Then she rubbed her eyes. The system window was still filled with sentences she couldn't comprehend. What bullcrap is this? Eileen spat out a curse. Tower of Wish, 8-3F, Krevon Mainland. I returned to the Tower of Wish after a 5-day vacation. Although I ended up spending an extra day outside, there weren't any dramatic changes inside the tower. It was just the news of me reaching the 8th floor that was heating up the public forum. The player on the 8th floor must be Black Lotus, right? Almost certainly. Nah, it might not be him. I heard Black Lotus and Fenrir fought each other with the latter coming out on top. What? Fenrir? What? While I was lightheartedly looking through the public forum, a strange comment caught my attention. The player's ID was G Super Yoon. She was spreading what she heard from Kim Suho. This girl. Was she in charge of spreading rumors? Well, it wasn't much of a secret anyways, and it was good that more and more people were perceiving Black Lotus and Fenrir as different people. You go, Yi Ji Yoon. As soon as I said that, G Super Yoon posted another comment. Yep, player Fenrir is using a gun in the tower. He entered through the black ticket. He seemed to have brought a gun with it. He's practically a grand general inside the tower. I exited the public forum and stood in front of the Ironblood Duchess's mansion. You know me, right? Of course, honored guest Kim Hajin, welcome back. Thank you. After passing by the knights guarding the entrance and walking through a beautiful garden, I entered the mansion's lobby. I first tried to locate Boss, and Aether reacted in response to my thoughts. Aether algorithm, vision improvement. In an instant, my vision spread out. As my 1,000-mile eyes began to penetrate through the walls of the mansion, Aether displayed a clearer view of my target. Player Boss found. Vitality, 100/100. Magic power, 100/100. Status, reading a book. Predicted future action, 99% chance to turn the page. It was telling me all sorts of extraneous information. Interesting, I muttered inwardly as I walked up to the library upstairs. Boss, I called her with a smile. Oh, Boss glanced at me momentarily and then nodded. You're late. I ended up staying another day. For some reason, Boss seemed to be hurt. I examined her closely. As I thought, she had bruises under her left eye, above her collarbone, and near other parts of her body. Boss, did someone beat you up? Boss snickered. I've been sparring with the Ironblood Duchess. Huh? My jaw dropped. I couldn't understand what she was saying. Was she saying that Tomer beat her up? Tomer wasn't weak by any means, but she should be a few levels below Boss. Boss, how much of your stats have you recovered? About 50-60%. 50-60%? Boss was only half of her real strength, but from the looks of it, Tomer seemed to have beaten her up easily. It seemed Tomer had gotten incredibly strong inside the tower. Keep up the good work. Krevon doesn't have a hideout system, but it has bonus stat boosts for sparring. Krevon was full of powerful NPCs. Naturally, there were many quests and events involving them. To fully reap the benefits of this floor, personal strength was vital. I plan to focus on sparring for the next month. The Ironblood Duchess seems to enjoy sparring with me too. Yo! At that moment, a voice called out to us. We turned our heads and saw the Ironblood Duchess, Tomer, walking toward us. She grinned.
Here, it's what you asked for. I got it ready while you were back on Earth. She trudged up to me and handed over a small crystal. Oh, already? LV7 Location Crystal Steel. It was a portable crystal steel. By infusing it with magic power, I could teleport to the World's End Bridge whenever I wanted. With this, I would be able to combat players trying to reach the 9th floor whenever I wanted. You should be able to reach the eastern border with this crystal. It's expensive, so don't lose it. It took 20 or 30 times the money I borrowed from you to make it. 20 to 30 times meant that this crystal was worth 6 to 9 billion won. I put the crystal steel away and tapped Tomer's shoulders. Thanks. No problem. Also, you can only use it 5 times, so don't forget that. And here. Tomer handed me a box that seemed even more important than the crystal steel. What's this? Half a year ago, monsters began to drop strange pieces of paper. We threw them away at first, but it just seemed too fishy, so we collected them and put them all in this box. Paper. After thinking for a bit, a bolt of electricity coursed through my brain. Paper. If I was right, this box had the potential to be the most precious treasure chest in the entire tower. I quickly opened it. Item experience plus 50 coupon times 11. Item experience plus 70 coupon times 4. Item experience plus 100 coupon times 4. LV2 consolidation coupon. LV4 skill consolidation coupon times 3. LV3 skill consolidation coupon times 2. Skill experience plus 30 coupon times 11. Skill experience plus 60 coupon times 9. Gold mine. It was an absolute gold mine. When I saw the item description windows, I almost fainted from shock. I can't use these, but I figured you guys could. I was touched by Tomer, and my body moved automatically. In the next moment, I found myself hugging Tomer. Hey, are you crazy? Thanks, friend. It's hot. Tomer easily pushed me away with her strength. It was like she was tossing aside a puppy clinging to her leg. Don't squeeze me if you're going to hug me. Well, you see, I've really been needing these. I still can't believe you have so many. How long were you collecting them for again? 6 months. As I was thanking her with heartfelt gratitude, I suddenly felt a sharp gaze on my back. I turned around. Boss was glaring at us with narrowed eyes. Oh, how are you glaring? Tomer asked teasingly. Then something I couldn't understand happened. Boss flinched and looked away. Gum. Duchess, would you like to spar again today? A spar? Sure, I'd be happy to. Follow me. Boss went outside with Tomer. The way they left made it look like Boss was inferior to Tomer. The Guild Alliance quickly climbed the tower. The news of a player reaching the 8th floor had been the trigger. Exactly 4 days later, they attacked Castle Number 5. This time, even Eileen, Jin Seon, and Yi Young Ha participated in the battle. The attack was carried out under high tension due to the belief that Black Lotus might show up again. However, it seemed it really was Black Lotus who reached the 8th floor, as he was nowhere to be seen, and the castle attack ended without anything special happening. Just like in the other castle attacks, Rachel made great contributions as an elementalist. As expected, the crystal steel that led to the 6th floor was inside Castle Number 5, and the essence of the sun that Medea wanted. After giving the essence of the sun to Medea and claiming the reward, the group climbed up to the 6th floor. Players needed 100,000 performance points to reach the 6th floor, and most of the members of the Guild Alliance had already surpassed that number. 6th F. Splendor. Immediately they were greeted by a beautiful scenic view. Right in front of them was a wooden sign that someone seemed to have hammered into the ground. Use this place to train. Was it some kind of trap? Such a thought couldn't escape the minds of several Alliance members, and while they were discussing the matter, the administrator arrived to allocate them time. Some received 6 hours and some 100, but the average was around 48 hours. The players pondered, should they train here, or should they go straight to the 7th floor? Essence of the Strait, English Royal Court, Frost Sanctuary, Desolate Moon. The above 4 guilds and rankers chose to train, and other guilds and Jin alliances chose to quickly climb up to the 7th floor. The ones who arrived on the 7th floor game center were then faced with an unbelievable sight. What? How is this possible? The hell, it's 7 poker again! Curses and cries of astonishment rang out throughout the game center. It wasn't surprising. The first-place player from most of the virtual reality games was just one person. The alias 7 Poker claimed the top spot for practically every game. Players suspected that it was the floor's administrator at first, but the letter P next to the name signified that it was a player just like them. It looks like Black Lotus wiped this place clean. Fucking hell, how can he be so greedy? Can't we put a bounty on his head somehow? We don't know his nickname, and even if we did, who would dare to challenge him? I guess you're right. In any case, a week went by since then, and most players had run out of the time they were given on the 6th floor. After having advanced by several levels, they passed the 7th floor game center and began to gather in 8-1 field. We just have to reach the end of this place? Currently, on 8-1. A warm breeze blew above a vast field. It looks like it, Lady Eileen.
Eileen's party, consisting of Jin Se-an, Eileen, Yi Young-ha, and Shin Jung-hak, were standing at the starting line. Should we divide the task, somehow? Kim Soo-ho's party, consisting of Kim Soo-ho, Chan A-yeon, Yi Young-han, Yi Ji-yeon, and the Furman siblings, suggested, "We probably don't need to. Just look around and see if there are any Jins nearby." Jins? Right. Someone put a bounty on Lady Eileen. Jin Se-an furrowed her brows, thinking about how someone dared to target Eileen. "You be quiet, like I care about some idiot putting a bounty on my—" Eh? At that moment, something caught Eileen's attention. A cute squirrel had appeared on the field. Although the squirrel was a little larger than usual, as Eileen loved cute things, she didn't suspect anything and called the squirrel over. "Come here, little squirrel. I'll give you treats." The squirrel stared at Eileen warily, then scurried up to her. After arriving by Eileen's side, the squirrel began to act strangely. It was rubbing its hands on her pocket. "Ha ha! Look, the squirrel is adorable!" Eileen only found the squirrel to be cute. She didn't notice what was happening at all. Minus 30 TP, minus 40 TP, minus 20 TP, minus 30 TP. Jin, who was able to transform into an animal now, ran to Eileen as soon as she spotted her from the forest. "What are you doing here? Are you hungry? Are you looking for food?" Looking at Eileen, who was grinning from ear to ear, Jin thought, "Idiot." A happy smile emerged on Jin's face.
Look, this squirrel is smiling. It must like me a lot. Should I take it in as a pet? Completely unaware that she was being robbed in broad daylight, Aileen kneeled and patted the squirrel's head.
Chapter 200. The squirrel darted from player to player for about 5 minutes before vanishing into the tall grass. Aileen watched in disappointment as the squirrel left, but soon put on a serious face and looked ahead. "What's the plan?" Aileen asked Kim Soo-ho's party. Yoon Young-eh had asked her to help Kim Soo-ho, but Aileen believed he should be able to survive the tower's stage without her babysitting him. "If you really want, I can cover for—" Aileen stopped mid-sentence as she turned and saw Kim Soo-ho's party. He was riding a sleek vehicle that looked like a snowmobile, black and gold, sturdy even at a glance. We have a way already." Seeing Aileen's shocked expression, Kim Soo-ho scratched his head and explained. "Looks like he's more prepared than us, Lady Aileen." "Kim Soo-ho, what's that? Where did you get it?" I found it on the 2nd floor." "It's fine." Aileen, a bit envious, took out a small kite shield so as not to lose out. "This shield will become big enough to cover all of us." Her words became reality. The kite shield, which was only big enough to cover half of Aileen's body, suddenly enlarged. Its weight didn't change, but it became so big that Shin Jung-hak had to carry it. "Also, for the next 15 minutes, this shield will block attacks weaker than my total magic power capacity." Her words became reality, but the 2 words Kim Soo-ho noticed were the first, and that said that she was fighting with them. "We're gonna go ahead. You guys can follow us after the first wave of attacks." With that, Aileen moved behind the kite shield with Yi Young-ha. "Yes, thank you. All right, get ready. Us 4 are going to move at the same speed, like one body." "Understood." Aileen's party accepted her speech without resistance. 3, 2, 1. After Aileen's countdown, they shot forward together. "We should get ready too," Kim Soo-ho said as he watched Aileen's group leave. Vanessa Pheromon and Paolo Pheromon finished their preparations. Chae Na-yoon was the only one who remained quiet. "Na-yoon, are you ready?" At that moment, a wave of arrows rained down on Aileen's group, but none could penetrate her kite shield. "Chae Na-yoon, are you still wondering who 7 Poker is?" Lee Young-han nudged Chae Na-yoon, who was standing in a daze. Chae Na-yoon snapped out of it and gripped her long sword's hilt. No, I'm just meditating to get to my peak condition." "Don't lie, you weren't listening at all." "I'm not lying. Plus, I think I already know who 7 Poker is." The mysterious 7 Poker had dominated most of the games on the 7th floor's game center. Chae Na-yoon felt like she knew his identity. In truth, it wasn't all that surprising. 7 Poker. Extra Seven's 7, and his incredible gaming skills. With these clues, it was easy for her to guess who 7 Poker was. What Chain Ayun was pondering was something else. The true identity of Extra 7. Anyway, I'm ready. Let's go. I'll protect the car properly. As soon as Chain Ayun spoke confidently, as I thought, a cheesy, unsettling voice rang out beside them. Members of the Guild Alliance are here too? Kim Suho's party turned to the side. The Ordinary People Alliance's Zurahan had arrived with his party. Zurahan: nice to meet you, hero Kim Suho. Kim Suho glared at Zurahan, who only smiled back. Hero? What hero? A displeased voice rang out next to him. Although Kim Suho's party only knew him as a loud baldy, he was known by a select few as Kaita, the chameleon troupe's seat of silver. Who are they? Lee Ji-yeon whispered. You don't need to know. She doesn't need to know? Aren't you being a bit rude here? Let's get going. We don't need to trouble ourselves with these guys. Kim Suho put his foot on the accelerator. What? Where are you? Wait, where did you guys get such a good ride? Kaita's snake-like eyes flickered with greed. Kim Suho stepped on the accelerator. The dwarven supercar shot forward, throwing dirt and grass at Kaita. Poof! Ah! Hey, you! Little... Stop! I said stop! Kaita cursed, shooting out a silver ray of magic power, but the dwarven supercar was already out of range. 3F, Level 4, Belle's hideout. Jin Sayuk opened her eyes, feeling hazy. To be exact, they opened regardless of her will. She couldn't bear the excruciating pain. Jin Sayuk let out a cracked, barren sigh and raised her upper body. Then, she infused magic power into her blackened body. The magic power intertwined with the curse burning her flesh and clotted over her skin. Jin Sayuk clenched her teeth and peeled off what was now a thin film. The severe pain of cutting off flesh followed, but this was the only way she could survive. The least she could do to keep living was to remove the curse that was exposed outward. Jin Sayuk fell to her knees in agony. Sayuk! Her comrade rushed in. Are you okay? Jin Sayuk looked at Rumi, the woman before her. She wanted to say something, but her lips wouldn't move. As she mumbled inaudible words, her eyes wandered to Rumi's hands. In those hands was a bowl of well-cooked rice porridge. Suddenly, fear struck Jin Sayuk. The curse interfered with eating. If she swallowed that porridge, unbearable pain would strike her again. No. You have to eat to get better. No. No. Belshi is trying hard to make a counteragent. No. No. Jin Sayuk tried to stand but fell over after a few steps. Rumi caught her thin body, as light as a feather. It's okay. Don't worry. Everything will be all right. Rumi gently soothed her. Jin Sayuk stayed still in her arms. For a short pause, there was a faint sob. It hurts so much. It'll be okay soon. Rumi was heartbroken. The Jin Sayuk she knew wasn't weak like this. If her injuries were normal, she would have overcome them with anger. If I die... You're not going to die. Who said you will? Now, you should stop talking. But 6 different parts of her body were covered with the Banshee's curse. These curses, already at level 5, gave Jin Sayuk pain greater than death. Nearly a month had passed with no cure and no improvement. To Jin Sayuk, this month felt like a year. Over that time, her strong willpower had melted away. I'm so tired. Jin Sayuk sobbed in Rumi's arms, almost wailing. It's okay. Rumi clenched her teeth. She wanted to take revenge on the man who did this to Jin Sayuk, but she had no means. She didn't have the power. Above all, that wasn't what Belle wanted. With a groan, Jin Sayuk stopped trembling, but her heartbeat was still the same. She had fainted again. Rumi put Jin Sayuk back in bed. Belle returned at that moment. Belle looked between Jin Sayuk lying in bed and Rumi, and then smiled brightly.
I think I'll be able to get my hands on the counteragent. Around the same time, at Ironblood Duchess's mansion in Krevan, I was able to draw a conclusion after watching Boss and Tomer duel. First, Boss was far greater in terms of talent and innate battle sense. But the problem was Tomer's stats and use of skills, which she had accumulated and perfected over the last 4 years. Tomer, who was originally the owner of Aether, was a genius at utilizing her environment and the tools given to her. She overwhelmed Boss with her unrivaled understanding and use of skills. Ugh. Quen. Boss flew into the wall. Tomer was using only psychokinesis, a basic skill, to fight Boss. Although psychokinesis was one of the best basic skills, what was truly amazing was the synergy between Tomer's psychokinesis and magic power. Let's do it one more time. Boss didn't give up. Still, while the process might differ, the result would be the same. Boss would need at least 3 months of repeated sparring to match Tomer. I took my eyes off their duel and checked my inventory. There were many treasures Tomer had given me. Just seeing them made me pleased, but I couldn't just hold on to them. I took them out and used them quickly. Used skill experience plus 30 coupon. Used skill experience plus 60 coupon. Used item experience plus 100 coupon. As a result, synthesis became level 5, extraction and permanent materialization became level 6, and my special skill algorithm rose to level 5. Upgrading Aether with advanced algorithm. Skill level 5 achieved. Challenge completed. Basic understanding of skills. All stats increased by 0.25. Finally, the system I had been waiting for was unlocked. You successfully recovered your stats. Your body has perfectly adapted to the environment inside the tower. Strength 8.00, stamina 7.935, speed 10.055, perception 10.355, vitality 8.005, magic power 4.5. I had fully recovered my power outside the tower. The experiences I gained inside the tower seemed to have been applied as well, as my stats were also 1.5 to 2 points higher than before. Finally! It was a long wait. The real growth would begin now. Quang! Suddenly, there was an ear-splitting roar, and Boss fell flat on her face. Boss and Tomer's second duel had ended. Hey! I called Tomer. Tomer tilted her head and looked at me. What? Spar with me too. Huh? Tomer stood silently for a moment, then grinned. Why so suddenly? Just because. It made me feel a little uncomfortable seeing you bully Boss. Of course, that was a joke. I was used to Boss's clumsy self by now. In fact, I was too scared to deal with Boss when she was being serious. Oh yeah? Then come at me. I brushed off my knees and stood up with a grin. However, Boss suddenly intervened. Stop it, Hajin. Boss looked at me with the most serious expression and shook her head. I understand how you feel, but I'm okay. Ah, that's right. I forgot she took jokes seriously. I'm the one who asked her for a spar. Seeing Boss's profound gaze, I nodded. Oh, okay. I walked over to Tomer. There was no need for a warm-up. We counted in silence. 1, 2, 3. First, Tomer unleashed her magic power. It gathered in one place, then turned into fragments that soon formed a dome engulfing both of us. What's the name of this skill? Dome Prison. It's invincible not only against one, but also against many. Watch. With a shake of her hand, several fragments of magic power that made up the dome flew at me. Aether responded first, grabbing the fragments flying toward me, turning them into crystals, and putting them in my inventory. Oh, looks like you have a pretty cool skill too. Yep. Then... Ha! Tomer rushed at me without warning. Her speed was hard to follow with the naked eye, but this time, my body reacted first. Kung! Tomer's fist and my arm collided. It wasn't a movement of the body, but an operation of the machine. Aether had moved my body on its own to block Tomer's attack.
I stopped Tomer's attack with my right arm. Less than 1 second had passed. What came to mind at that moment was a gun. If only I had a pistol in my left hand. As I thought so, a handgun appeared. It wasn't a miracle or imagination. Aether had moved and brought it to me. I aimed at Tomer and pulled the trigger. Ugh! The bullet scratched Tomer's cheek. Of course, it wasn't a miscalculation on my part. Tomer had dodged at the last moment. To dodge a bullet right under her nose, she was also a monster. But I still smiled. If what I had in my hand was a shotgun, I would have won just now. I went easy on you, and you... Tomer's kick landed on my thigh. I was horrified. It felt like my leg was about to fall off, even though Aether's automatic defense lessened the pain as much as possible. Keek! Tomer was about to throw me to the ground when Spartan appeared out of nowhere and wailed. What's that? Tomer stopped, and I widened my eyes. This was a signal from Spartan. There are people trying to cross the bridge already. I pulled out my hood from my inventory. Ah, yeah. Come to think of it, 30-ish people came in about a week ago, right? Yeah, those guys are allied Jin. Show 'em who's boss. I heard they've been meddling with the locals. I held the portable crystal steel in one hand. I had already recovered from Tomer's kick using the level 4 orb of regeneration. I'll be right back. I'm going now, boss. I infused Stigmo's magic power into the crystal steel. The sense of space warping embraced my entire body. World's End Bridge, the pathway to the 9th floor. The Evil Society Alliance arrived there after kidnapping and torturing several Krevan NPCs. So we have to get past here, Kim Hok-pyo muttered, folding his arms. World's End Bridge. The name fit. It was so long you couldn't see where it ended, and it looked like flesh-eating beasts might leap out from the dark forest, stretching from one side of the bridge to the other. Get moving, guys. For this reason, Kim Hok-pyo sent the others forward first. He himself stood near the middle of the pack, safely surrounded by his subordinates. Don't be scared, nothing's going to come out. They walked for about 5 minutes under Kim Hok-pyo's encouragement. Suddenly, a flash of light came from the other side of the sky. It soon turned into a streak of wind and headed toward them. The thing reflected in Kim Hok-pyo's glare was an arrow. What? His henchman magician put up a barrier in time. Tong! The arrow couldn't get past the barrier and fell to the ground feebly. It was an ordinary wooden arrow. Its harmlessness made him embarrassed for being startled. Ha ha ha! What's this? This is supposed to be a trap? Kim Hok-pyo picked up the arrow and showed it to his subordinates. They laughed along with him. Obviously, the 8th floor was nothing to be scared of. Ha ha ha! Excuse me, team leader. Silla-san, who was laughing with Kim Hok-pyo, squinted as if he'd noticed something. What? There's something dangling at the end of the arrow.
Huh? Kim Hok-pyo looked at the arrow's tail. There was a piece of taper hanging from the lower side. What the heck is this? It looks like a message. You should open it. You do it. Kim Hok-pyo had Silla-sen do the job, dumping what could be a trap onto his subordinate. Yes, sir. Silla-sen unfolded the note without hesitation and tilted his head at its content. This is... what? Kim Hok-pyo took the note back. The note had only a single sentence. I will allow only 10 steps forward. What's this? More than that, please look below. There's a drawing. Kim Hok-pyo did as Silla-sen said. There was a drawing of a lotus in the bottom right corner. A lotus? It's drawn with ink. An ink drawing of a lotus. In other words, a black lotus. It was clear who the drawing represented. Kim Hok-pyo thought for a moment, so Black Lotus was already on the verge of reaching the 9th floor. But his thought didn't last long and couldn't change what Kim Hok-pyo was about to do. Including him, there were 20 members of the Evil Society Alliance with him. Up until now, they had stolen various stat-boosting items and skills from other players and NPCs. Kim Hok-pyo was confident he could win against anyone. A mere rookie dares to be so bold. All the praise must have gotten to his head. Pride also played a big part in his decision. To retreat without even checking if the enemy was serious would hurt his pride. And even if he was, Kim Hakpyo believed he was far more experienced. Only a handful of people in the world could look down on Kim Hakpyo. Set up barriers in case of an attack. You know the spell, right? Yes, sir. As expected of an executive of evil society, he didn't overlook any detail. Let's go. First step, second step, third step. They walked forward in heavy tension. Finally, they reached the 20th step as noted in the message. Black Lotus's warning was immediately proven true. Geek! A loud cry of a bird rang out, and something black flew from the corner of the sky. Kim Hakpyo knew it was an arrow. He was prepared to face it head-on. Barriers! A series of sturdy barriers shot up one after another at Kim Hakpyo's command. A total of 15 barriers were layered on top of each other. A mere arrow shouldn't be able to get past them all. Silison, you figure out which way that arrow came from. Kim Hakpyo was leisurely giving the next command when he realized something was wrong. As the arrow drew closer, his instincts screamed louder. Like a meteor, a trace of destruction split the dry atmosphere in half. A torrent of magic power caused the air to burn. An arrow descended, tearing clouds apart. His thoughts didn't last long as a streak of light fell down.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.